you personally choose national security or civil liberties? Which one's more important to you?
Which one's more important? That's a really hard question to answer. I value both very, very much. I believe that there are times when it is necessary for the federal government to step on civil liberties. In times of emergency, in times of war, there are sometimes situations where that's the only way to preserve national security. Does that mean that I feel like that the people don't have a right to protest that? No. Does it mean that I think that it should be something given lightly? No. I think we have to watch our government very closely to make sure that they don't take that too far, and that we ensure a way to get those rights back once the crisis is passed. I think that's really one of the biggest issues, is I want to make sure that our government is held responsible for their actions. And I think that's the responsibility of citizens.
As a teacher, you like to speak out. You like to state your opinions in class. Do you think that sometimes national security gets in the way of that? Such as like the pledge saying, under God, and that offends some people?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I think that it is certainly our right as citizens to protest saying the pledge. I think that people have the First Amendment right to not do so. Does that mean that I personally think it's right? No, I think that everybody should pledge allegiance to the flag. I think everybody should support our military. I think everybody should respect our president, whether we agree with him or not. He's still the president. I think those values and that patriotism are so very important. But I do believe that people, because we live in a democracy and because we have seen in the past what can happen if a government doesn't allow people those freedoms, I think that they do have a right to protest certain things if they feel like it's unfair. And I'm given the example of the student I have that didn't want to say the pledge. That's fine. He has the right to not say the pledge. But he did have to stand up and when everyone else stood up, but I couldn't force him to salute it or to say it, because he had very valid reasons as to why he felt like it was wrong. So I respected those. Did I think it was right? No.
How do you think we can ensure civil liberties without taking away the national security of America?
I think that our government has to have a very well thought out plan. I think maybe sometimes we do things hastily in reaction to fear, and I don't want fear to drive our decisions. I think that's really the main point I want to make. I think I want our decisions to be made out of thoughtfulness. I want it to be us to consider the people that it will impact. Sometimes that's not always possible. If there is an emergency, like I said, it may not be possible to do that. But I want to make sure that there's a way to ensure that if we reflect on that action and it does violate too many civil liberties, there's a way for us as a people to stop that or to get our civil liberties back. And so I would just like for them to make sure that we don't make decisions strictly out of fear, because what we've seen in the past is when we do that, some group of people always gets targeted. And I don't ever want to be in the group that is.
You said about you want it to be thought out. Have you ever seen a time where national security is necessary to become before civil liberties?
I certainly understand times in the past. When Pearl Harbor was bombed and there was the reaction to move Japanese Americans inland because they felt like that there could be a spy situation there, I understand those people's fears. I think that it would have been better if our government had maybe taken a little time to look into that to see how possible it was for spies to really exist there. But then again, if it's a national emergency, there might not be time for that. So I understand that. Because I lived through 9/11, I understand the reaction that people had and the support that President Bush had with the Patriot Act when they started wiretapping phone lines or whatever to sniff out terrorists, because we were scared. And we made that decision again out of fear. And as long as we have the checks and balances in place, like the Supreme Court, which can go back and look at these laws like the Patriot Act and declare it unconstitutional, I feel safe. But I just want to always make sure that those rights are preserved, and that we need to be aware of what our government's doing, even if it's not technically affecting us, to make sure that they're being responsible and held responsible.